Hi everyone, I'm Bianca and I'm currently a sophomore at Syracuse University, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about my experience having a semester where COVID was a really big problem to kind of transitioning back into a normal semester. But then again, also COVID is still a major issue. So with these new variants, I'll also be talking about some tips while going to school during the pandemic. So my first tip would be, if you are online for Zoom class, you really need to treat it like you're in a normal classroom, because I know if you skip one class or you start doing your class from bed, you're going to do that class every time like that, or you're not going to go to the class at all. So something I started doing was putting my phone in a different area of the room so I wouldn't go on it during my class. And then I would also get dressed out of my pajamas for all of my classes so that I was not doing that, because that just makes you feel very unproductive when you're in your clothes you wore to bed. So I would wear normal clothes, I would plug my phone in across the room, and then I would take notes as if I was in actual class and make sure that my camera was on, even if other people weren't having their cameras on. I feel like treating it like I was in a normal classroom made the experience a lot nicer for me. I was able to learn more and I was more focused. So then another thing I learned experiencing both was that, to be honest, you really don't need to study as hard for an online test that you would for an in-person test, which was a really hard transition for me when I went from taking online exams to taking in-person exams, because most of my online exams, the teachers allowed us to use our notes or use the internet and stuff like that, which made the exams a lot easier for students to do well on. So when we went back to in-person exams that weren't open note, it was a lot harder of a transition, because you really had to make sure you knew the material on your own without using notes or anything, which was kind of difficult for me because I don't think I took a in-person exam since my beginning of the senior year of high school. So that was a really hard transition. So my biggest tip would be, if you're taking an online exam, study for it as if you were studying for an in-person exam. That way, if you're taking both or you're taking one or the other, you're always prepared, because I know I really struggled going back to in-person exams. Another thing I learned this year was that a lot of things are switching to be fully virtual. The internship I had last summer at a marketing firm used to work all in person, and then they switched online due to the pandemic, and they decided to switch their entire business to fully online, so everything was virtual. And I think that's something that's going to start being even more common now because of the pandemic. So I think that being prepared to be professional in the virtual setting is important, because I think that's going to start being a really prominent factor to a lot of companies and businesses, is that people are going to be starting to work from home more. So I think no matter what you want, that you need to make sure you are prepared for maybe having to work virtually at a lot of your internships or your future jobs. So those were some of my tips and some of the things I learned. I think this is a really difficult time because we went from going to school in the pandemic to kind of being decently back to normal, and then we're kind of shifting. Some people are going virtual again, some people are going in person. So I think that making sure you're prepared for both is really important, because this is a really weird time and things can be shifting back and forth. So you need to make sure that you're still prepared for this. And yes, this can be very stressful, so make sure that you're taking time for yourself to calm down and kind of make sure that you're not too overwhelmed by everything. So thank you, and I hope some of those tips helped you.